So, some days I really think that God is just messing with me. It's Grandparents' Day, and I had to hear that gospel. A family of 5 will be divided 3 against 2. Fathers apart from their sons. Mothers against daughters. So that's the reading of the day, for the record. We didn't pick that specially for you guys. I don't think any of us would have gotten away with that one. But I mean, that's a tough reading. Most priests I know have 3 or 4 gospel readings they just hate preaching on, and this is one of them. Now, the good news is it is not what it sounds like, okay? Jesus is not anti-family, okay? He's not saying that he wants to rip families apart. Like, Grandpa, you're a great guy, but seriously, pack your bags. Like, no, not the message, promise. Rather, what Jesus is saying is that when we're disciples of Christ, which indeed we are all called to be, when we're disciples of Christ, that will require us from time to time to do the right thing, all right, to do what is right instead of what is easy. And not even the convenience of the family, keeping the family happy and content, not even that is a good enough excuse. And let's face it, that's one of the best excuses out there. Now, for even those of you that know me pretty well, there's someone in my life that I've never spoken to you about, just because I don't know her that well. I worked at the Lutheran Hospital of Indiana for 3 months as a chaplain, on the road to priesthood. And I was with 7 other chaplains, 5 of whom were novices like me. 2 were experienced, 5 were learning the ropes like me. And one lady, her name was Val, and we all had to take turns giving our history as individuals to know each other better. And she was in her, I want to say her late 40s or so. Her only son was in his early 20s at the time. So I'm guessing she was around late 40s. Humble guess, I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But she was explaining that one of the greatest challenges in her life was dealing with her son. Because he was a perfectly normal kid right up until about his late teenage years. And then he fell into that particular trap of extreme laziness. Okay, I'm not talking 4-hour nap laziness. I'm not talking about spending the entire day binge watching your favorite show laziness. Like, for years, he did nothing but stay in his room, live with his parents, eat their food, and play video games, and surf the internet. He did nothing else, okay? He failed all of his classes. He did not have a job. Eventually, he lost all his friends because he wouldn't do anything besides stay in his room. And his parents tried everything. They tried everything. They tried talking to him. They got experts. They read books. And just nothing worked. And so eventually, they just said to him, "Son, we love you, but this has got to stop. We're going to give you 3 or 4 days to get your things together. But on that 4th day, we need to throw you out of the house. Like, you just need to go. Because what's happening now cannot continue. It is killing you, and you don't realize it." And so when that day came, they were crying. I mean, it was a horrible day for everybody. And they said, "Son, we love you. We are doing this for your own good. And we want this time of your life to be as short and painless as possible. We want you to get back on your feet. But son, something's got to change, and this can't wait one more day." And so they did throw him out of the house. And I don't really know how the story ends much later on. At the time she was sharing this with us, he did get his own apartment. He had a job. He was, buying his own food. He was getting back on his feet. And I'm sure there were some tough days that got him there. But here's the thing. He needed that. Okay? He needed that. And he never would have gotten to grow in that necessary way unless his parents were brave enough to make the hard decision, the decision they didn't want to make. And I'm grateful that she told us that, because that's a powerful story. I don't have kids. I will very likely never have kids. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, because it's scary. It is scary to have to do something like that to someone you love, even if it's for their own good. And brothers and sisters, that is what I think of when I hear that gospel. We are called to do the right thing, to be right instead of what is easy, and not even the convenience of keeping the family happy is a good enough excuse. Again, that's kind of a harsh message today, but I decided not to ignore it because you guys deserve better than that. We are called to be disciples of Christ, and we are always called to do the right thing. Now, the older grades had me for Mass on Monday, and I said that money is never as important as the family, and I stand by that. That's a good message. No shame on that one. In light of today's gospel, though, I'm going to add a little extra onto it. The family is always more important than money, but doing the right thing is even more important than family convenience.